Hey, it's Chuck.
And I don't think he's going to throw the ball as much as he thinks he's going to throw the ball now that Chip Kelly's on board. And I'm happy about that. More quarterback.
The truth is Ryan Day has made a change philosophically, but it's none of those.
You all know who wins. LSU is the drunkest fan base in the country.
And welcome into Juck on Bucks, the weekend show on a Saturday. Appreciate you guys so much for joining me for a live edition of the weekend show, our second live of the week. We got quite a bit to talk about today. Ohio State quarterback situation in the class of 2026, some portal visits scheduled, some new names emerge. But if you're new to the show, and I know a lot of you are, when I first started, I had realized maybe 3 months prior that many of the podcasts that I listened to on Apple Podcasts had corresponding YouTube shows. So I started checking out YouTube for some of those podcasts. And then I realized there was a whole bunch of Ohio State content that I had never run across before on Apple Podcasts. And I was hooked immediately. And we're so lucky that we have such a big, passionate fan base that you can almost have something Ohio State playing for a large chunk of your day. It's not like that for anyone else. There aren't enough views to go around for those creators to keep going. And that's one of the many reasons that we see so many opposing fan bases in our Ohio State show chats all day long. Shout out to the Juck guys. But we're a lucky bunch, man. We got Ohio State content all day, and I would play them all day at work. And then the weekend would roll around and it would be radio silence. Nothing new on the weekend. All I wanted to hear was somebody talking about Ohio State, whether I liked them or not, while I was doing my Sunday chores, etc. So when I decided to try this out, I said to myself, I'm always going to do a weekend show because even if I can't turn on somebody else's show, I can get my fix talking about it. And in turn, give people like me who just want something to listen to an opportunity to play the show. And maybe they like it, maybe they don't, who knows. But we'll always do a weekend show here. So we got some portal visits coming to town. And we'll get to that. Some massive potential new targets. Want to touch in what our biggest competition for the national championship right now is doing right now with their portal acquisitions. And then and get to that Ohio State quarterback situation in 2026. But first, the newest member of the class of 2026 and something that absolutely drives me nuts. That's new wide receiver commit Brock Boyd, who's an absolute blazer with a 21.7 200 meter. We've certainly had some straight line burners at wide receiver at Ohio State. He's right up there at the top, and I think his acceleration is pretty damn impressive too. And I showed that on his film breakdown when he committed. It's been hysterical and annoying to me to hear the way people have talked about Brock Boyd since his commitment. I listened to a guy on Friday morning talking about Brock Boyd, and he mentioned 4 other names when talking about Brock Boyd. Those 4 other names, Brock Boyd, who, if you didn't know, is a white wide receiver. He mentioned Dane Sanzenbacher, Cooper Kupp, Julian Edelman, and Anthony Gonzalez. Those were the 4 names that just randomly came out on the tip of his tongue when talking about Brock Boyd. And the way people see this just kind of blows my mind, man. Like, it's really the same thing. Like, we got people saying he's never going to see the field, even though his measurables are better than some of the guys in the room. He's not going to see the field, even though his high school production at high level Texas football, some of the highest you can play in the country, are better than almost everybody in the room right now when they were in high school, because he's not worthy, even though Brian Hartline went to go get him. I didn't hear one person say that about Phillip Bell. Phillip Bell, who's ranked the same as he was, who's the same size, not nearly as fast or productive. Phillip Bell at Mission Viejo, 56 passes, 644 yards, and 7 touchdowns his junior year. Brock Boyd doubled that, 111, 1875, and 20 touchdowns. Phillip Bell's 200 meter time, 24.74. Brock Boyd, 21.7. 3 seconds in the 200 meter is destruction. And I'm not trying to crap on Phil Bell. I think he's awesome. That's my point. Phillip Bell is awesome, and everybody's pigeonholing Brock Boyd, and I don't like it. I think it's so obnoxious, but more on Phil later. The big question for Brock Boyd and Chris Henry Jr. and Jaden Ricketts, those wide receivers in that class of 2026, who's going to be the quarterback in that class? The Buckeyes have certainly cycled through a whole lot in the class of 2026. Started with, the whole top 10 basically going off the board after they were originally in on Jared Curtis, the best quarterback in the class, who's going to decide soon between Georgia and Oregon. That kind of went out the window when Corey Dennis left. but there's been a whole lot of targets. And most recently, we've had 3 new targets. My thought, when you're kind of dropping down to the, after the can't miss guys, and you're going to get a guy, you're not really relying on this 2026 guy to come in and be the guy, right? You're not viewing him as essentially, he's not going to be the starter. We're going to make sure that it's someone who's competent and has a ceiling, but you're looking at Tavian St. Clair and you're looking at Brady Edmonds, and this is the guy in between. So when you're in that kind of situation, my thought is I always want somebody with a really big upside, someone who's really special with either arm talent or size or athleticism. And then you try to work on the things that he doesn't have. And if those hit, you just might have somebody who emerges to be your starting quarterback at some point. But the most recent prospects who were brought in potentially to be that guy in 2026, all 3 of them visited recently. Ohio State had plans to go out and see all 3 of them throw at their high schools, but didn't offer any one of them. The first one was Derek Zamut. Derek Zamut out of DePaul Catholic. That's the high school in New Jersey that Ohio State freshman Deshaun Stewart and Des Jones both went to. Des Jones, that was his high school quarterback. So Zamut, 6'1", 195, slings it around, moves around well, an exciting quarterback. But I was told by a lot of Buckeye fans, we don't do 6'1" quarterbacks around here. That's against the rules, apparently. The dude's got an interesting Final Four. His Final Four now, Rutgers, Syracuse, who don't really fit in with Ohio State offers, then Washington, and then Alabama. So that is option number 1. Then you had Jett Tamala. Jett Tamala out of Nebraska, 6'5", cannon of an arm, really interesting prospect. Obviously, lower level football he's playing against. And he had a lot of Big 12 offers and was an Iowa State lean. I think he certainly fits the mold of what I would be looking for, a guy with a really big arm and a really big upside at that size. He committed to Iowa State on Friday, so he's out. Then we talked about Peyton Falzone. Peyton Falzone, the third guy at 6'4" out of Nazareth, Pennsylvania. A guy that quarterback coach, one of the best quarterback coaches in the Midwest, Brad Mandler, who coaches Drew Aller through high school, Ethan Grunkmeyer, the 2 next quarterbacks at Penn State. Well, he said that Peyton Falzone has an arm like Drew Aller, but is an elite athlete. And he is. His measurables say so as well. A sub 11 second 100 meter at 6'4", who can really throw the ball. So that was a pretty exciting one. Well, he's now off the board as well, as he is going to be the 3rd consecutive Penn State quarterback that Brad Mandler will have coached. So, good for him, I guess. But that leaves Derek Zamut, who is the only one still on the board out of those most recent 3 guys that the Buckeyes were talking about for potentially the 2026 quarterback position. And it seems like he's ready to make a decision really quick. And the Buckeyes, as far as I know, don't even have that visit set up to go watch him throw. And the situation is nobody wants to be sandwiched between Tavian St. Clair, the number 2 quarterback in the class of 2025, and Brady Edmonds, the number 2 quarterback in the class of 2027. And some will say, you can't count on the class of 2027 kid. And normally I'd agree, but not with Brady. Brady is a lock to be in this class. His recruitment is shut down. He doesn't even take calls. I asked him about the rumor yesterday that there was a rumor floating around about him potentially reclassifying for 2026. And Brady said it's not even a consideration. He's a lock. He told us on the show that he was committing even if Day got fired. And when you hear that, it's just like, okay, this guy's in. I don't even have quite that same confidence about Jir Brown, the number 2 wide receiver out of Wayne High School with a Block O tattoo on his forearm, one of the fastest kids in the country with wicked slick moves. He's awesome. But I've been talking to him since before he committed. He is a huge Buckeyes fan. Grew up, similar to Brady, loves Brian Hartline, but his commitment's not shut down. He was out visiting Notre Dame this week. He's keeping those options, secondary options open. Brady totally shut down. But those commitments, really the only ones I want to talk about when it gets to 2027, as far as recruiting. I don't like to bring up many prospects in 2027 because it just gets confusing. But Carlos Lachlan recently has developed a pretty good relationship with David Gabriel Georges, who is an excellent running back from originally from Quebec, goes to the Baylor School in Tennessee, which is the same route that Ohio State tight end Max LeBlanc took from Quebec to that school in Tennessee. Same as Shakai Mills-Knight, who was a running back the Buckeyes were after last cycle, who ended up committing to Ole Miss. All dudes from Quebec go to this little pipeline school in Tennessee to go play football. But Ohio State at the top of this kid's board. And I watched him. Now, I haven't started watching the running backs in 2027. On3 has him ranked as their number 3 running back in the class. 247 doesn't even have him rated yet. On3 sometimes a little wonky with their running back rankings, in my opinion, like Henry Ollinger in the top 10 of their 2026 running back rankings. But this kid, I mean, I guarantee this is a top 3 back when this class matures. Maybe the top 1. He's special, so special. I normally don't talk about 27s. I want to show you this kid. And here is David Gabriel Georges from the Baylor School in Tennessee at 6 foot, 190 pounds. We've got speed, we've got burst, we've got physicality. The balance is insane. I hope you guys can hear me through this. StreamYard has changed a little something recently about how they do things. We'll watch one more here, but this dude's a special back. Look, I mean, that's got it all. Got it all. So that's, where am I at here? So that's David Gabriel Georges, man. That's a special back. That is a special back. Like to ask you all to please like the video today. That would be awesome if we could all like the video. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the show. Always a big help for creators when we're liking and subscribing, though 50% of people who watch these shows consistently don't subscribe. But it is a big help. It keeps people, consistent. I don't know. Some people make money off it. I don't, but it keeps me motivated when I see it growing and I see more people liking it. By the way, a really awesome guest coming on next week. Cannot wait for that. So stay tuned next week. We got a sweet guest, but let's get to this portal. We talked originally this week about defensive end Bo Atkinson out of North Carolina. Bo Atkinson coming up to visit the Buckeyes, also going to visit Georgia, 2 years of eligibility left. And I think immediately if this guy was to become a Buckeye, and he seems to be kind of a Buckeye fit, at minimum, he's a 20, 25 snap a game guy. And that's cool. But I think a lot of us are thinking, okay, tackle is where you'd really like a piece or two added maybe. I think that there's more depth right now at end myself, just more playable depth when you look at Logan George, who looks like a really solid 3 to me. When you look at the inside of the line, you're talking about kind of a drop off after Edric Houston and after Caden McDonald. And I think that ideally you could really use a guy who could push those starters and not a guy who could push those backups. This is not when we talk about these guys here, we talked about the first guy who popped up, Demarion Thomas, who was a 330 pounder out of Vanderbilt. And he was asked about Ohio State. He said that he would, really like to talk to Ohio State. As far as I know, the Buckeyes haven't reached out to him. Obviously, from an SEC school, he can't go in the SEC. But then Troy Pikes emerged. Troy Pikes out of Georgia Southern, 6'3", 290. He is got 2 years of eligibility left, or 3. He's got 3 years of eligibility left. And we're talking about a kid who, he kind of reminds me of someone, or just feels like someone who would push those backups, not really push the starters. I like to have a guy with a lot of eligibility who can come in and grow in the system, but it doesn't feel like somebody who's going to help you in 2025 to me. I can't find any film on him, so I can't say that for sure. Just based off of the statistics and everything, doesn't seem like somebody who could crack the rotation. But then we had a Syracuse freshman All-American, Murad Watson, pop in at 6'3", 315, a guy out of New Jersey, our second favorite state. We love the New Jersey guys, but out of high school, had Tennessee, Nebraska offers, chose to stay close to home. This is a player I think that could push to try to get into that rotation to play. Now, no contact has been made with him that I'm familiar with. And then late last night, we had last year 5-star David Stone, who was from Oklahoma, went to IMG for high school, and then ended up committing to Oklahoma. He entered the portal. Now, this is a guy with 3 years of eligibility left, 6'3", 315, and this is a guy who isn't going to go anywhere unless he, knows he's at minimum cracking a 3-man rotation, but he can't go to the SEC. I highly doubt contact's been made here. Schools like Miami and Michigan State were in on him when he originally committed. So that would be someone who obviously, expensive for one. We're talking like over $1 million to get a guy like that. Number two, probably looking for an opportunity where he's going to come in and start. So maybe not quite the guy that's going to fit in, but as far as talent, it's through the roof. But Watson and Stone would be your two biggest guys that could potentially help here. So when we look at Georgia and we look at Texas, who, Georgia, Texas, Oregon, kind of with Ohio State, the 4 top dogs in college football right now, we're seeing Georgia go after these guys. We're seeing Texas just, along with taking our number 3 guy, right, in Hero Kanu, they've signed 4 defensive tackles this cycle. Now, 1 this most recent spring, but 3 earlier, and they needed it. They were a little behind in numbers. Now they're loaded. Bucks behind in numbers a little bit right now. So certainly would like to see some movement here from Ohio State when it comes to the defensive line, as far as bringing in a couple of these guys. And, Larry's talking to these guys and they're all saying, yeah, we're talking about scheduling a visit. And that's great. But on the offensive side of the ball, Tyler Bowen's got 14 offensive linemen, wants to get to 16. Yesterday, all conference offensive linemen out of Conference USA, Sam Houston State, Orian Irving announced that he was offered by Ohio State. I got a hold of him within 5 minutes. He had already had a visit scheduled to Ohio State. He's coming up next Friday to visit. 6'6", 315. And again, he was just a true freshman last year. So we're talking a guy that's got a lot of eligibility, not a guy that's going to come in and push for starting minutes, but a big body. Another, we're kind of true tackle bodies. We don't have a ton as far as depth. So Tyler calls him, immediately gets him scheduled. It feels like, based on Larry's words about the portal before the spring started, that there's maybe a little reluctance to bring guys in. And I get it. Like going off the top of the board, it's just like, it doesn't feel like Larry wants to bring in guys that are going to challenge his guys. And that's totally understandable. These are guys you brought in. These are guys you coached. But you're low on numbers, and it feels like there is a big gap in the depth. And I know that, a lot of people don't want to hear that. And a lot of people get angry about that. And people like me, or people that say it on Twitter, there's a big gap between your starters and your 2 deep. It's a big gap. That's not good. That's why you see teams like Georgia and Texas going out handling that. And my opinion is Ryan Day wants this handled as well. You don't need to listen to me. Ryan Day came out and told us 3 times, right? 3 times throughout the spring that this was not good enough. And it seems to me like Larry's very reluctant to do it. And, hate to bring this up, but when we go back to the Knowles Larry thing, this is the kind of stuff people talk about when they say he's difficult to work with. That right there. Ryan Day's not taking that lightly. He's not coming out and saying that. Like, he's throwing those defensive ends and defensive tackles and Larry all under the bus a little bit every time he says this isn't good enough, right? Like, it's also a motivation tactic, but you're kind of throwing him under the bus, right? So he doesn't say that stuff lightly, but I'm pretty sure he wants to see some momentum here. And it feels like there's some reluctance. So we'll see what happens here. To me, it's the most interesting thing of this spring portal. You do got guys, young guys, that could potentially pop. I think Jarquez Carter could be one. You never want to rely on a freshman to try to pop over your guys that are now upperclassmen. And we're talking about Will Smith. We're talking about Jason Moore. But he just might be more ready than them. And that's just the truth. So at any rate, that's where we're sitting with those transfer portal guys. I do like that Tyler Bowen's got an offensive tackle coming up. I think that's awesome. That's how he's been moving throughout recruiting, right? He's finding his targets, he's getting it locked in, and it's a very encouraging thing when we talk about Tyler Bowen. So, talking about an offensive lineman, the number one guy on the Buckeyes board a couple years back, Jordan Seaton. We just talked about him the other day as Ohio State freshman offensive lineman Javon McFadden, also from Maryland, like Seaton. They call each other cousins. And McFadden was kind of considering Colorado. It was in his top 3. Well, Jordan Seaton eventually went to Colorado. It was thought that they weren't really in the contest anymore. It was an Ohio State-Tennessee battle, like David Sanders Jr. ended up being. And then he went on ESPN on one of those shows and committed to Colorado, which really just like kind of blew a lot of us away. He comes out this week. Now we're seeing a lot of people leave Colorado in the transfer portal. And he comes out and he's talking about something about you can't even build a brotherhood anymore. It's so crazy. Now, this is a guy who literally took the biggest bag to go to Colorado, and he's mad that his teammates are now leaving doing the same. And Jermaine Matthews, always the funniest dude, trolls him and immediately says, I can't relate, retweets it, says, I can't relate. I just love Jermaine Matthews, the way he mixes it up. We have got the best DBs, dude. These guys are just great. That DB room is fantastic. No need for a portal player in the DB room. Those dudes are the best, man. But when we talk about sorry, guys, I lost my spot on my notes here. The culture at Ohio State. That's where I'm at here. So you've had 2 walk-ons leave right now from Ohio State. And this is why I don't think you can get too mad about not bringing in guys from the transfer portal quickly, right? When we talk about the culture at Ohio State, what Ryan Day's been able to build, you're being a little hypocritical if you're also then getting mad that they don't bring in guys from the transfer portal as quick, or they pass on guys because we don't know everybody's personality. So when you look at the culture at Ohio State, that none of these guys have left, that everybody wants to be a part of the Ohio State family, which is something special to them, which they believe in, and they believe and have bought in that they want to be part of this organization and that in the end, it's going to work out the best for them. All the pressure for a lot of these guys that don't get playing time is to leave. It's to leave to go to a better situation. It's to leave to go to get more money. And Ohio State starts at the beginning with who they bring in. They start culture number 1 with who we bring in, and they never compromise. And sometimes that means in recruiting, crossing people off the list that are highly, highly talented guys, which in the moment always frustrates me, right? But then we get to a situation like this where you see nobody leaving, and it's like, okay, like it's all for that. So you can't be proud and happy and brag about that culture. And then also, you can't have it both ways. It's one or the other. And I always love that Ryan Day's program is culture first. They care most about that more than anything. And they refuse to compromise on that. So when it comes to these portal guys, even though I get frustrated, it's like, you know what? It's difficult to really get to know somebody in this short amount of time. And you certainly don't want to bring in somebody who's going to be detrimental to that culture. And you don't want to bring in somebody who's also making a ton of money, more than the guys you have on the roster, guys that have been working with you, contributing. Like that's always an awkward situation anyway. So, you know, you take the good with the bad, but ultimately, if you had to pick, I'm going with the culture of this team. So while I understand that may sound contradictory to what I was just talking about with the defensive line, I get it. These are the ebbs and flows I go through as a fan, right? You want the talent, but you also want the culture. And ultimately, I think you have to prioritize the culture. But, you know, there's a balance. There always will be. I think all in all, Ryan Day, what he's been able to do to build this is just simply amazing. Nobody else in high-level college football has it like Ohio State has it. Most other places, you get some, you know, somebody maybe brings up going into the portal. You probably have some guys on the team or around them where they start kind of going in that direction. And it feels like at Ohio State, if somebody were to bring that up, you'd have 6 guys like talking them out of it. No, this is the brotherhood. It's just the way it feels from the outside looking in, man. I think it's special. I really do. And I get that sounds cheesy to some people. I think it matters. And I think we saw it last year. And you can also win a national championship being the good guys too, which my buddy Chris Drew calls it the Disney team. And they felt like the Disney team last year for real. But most of the time we would say the Disney teams can't win. You got to be 0-1 Miami. but pretty awesome stuff. I did want to hit on some of the enemies today. So Michigan apparently in the market for a transfer quarterback. Now you got Bryce Underwood, you got Jaden Davis, who was last year's superstar freshman. They claimed couldn't sniff the field despite the quarterback situation they had. Apparently he's not close this year, which is not a huge surprise. He sucked his senior year, plummeted in the ratings. And I think he'll probably wash out of there relatively quickly. But they brought in transfer Mikey Keene from Fresno State to kind of bridge the gap between Bryce Underwood or until they got to Bryce Underwood till he was ready. Now, Mikey Keene has missed all of spring, and they don't know when he's going to be healthy. So yesterday, On3's Pete Nakos reported that Brendan Sullivan is one of the few quarterbacks in the portal next to Steve Angeli who could fit what Michigan's looking for. Experience, could compete for a starting job. I know everybody knows what Bryce has done there, but the reality is Brendan Sullivan has more college starting experience. I think the biggest thing is Brendan Sullivan would like to start and play all 12 games. That's something he hasn't been able to do much during his college career, and his dad went to Michigan. There's an idea he could go there and challenge for the job, but he's never been a guy to outright be the guy, and that's attractive to him right now. So Sullivan, a good athlete, played some at Iowa last year. I think a lot of people thought that he should have started last year at Iowa. If I'm a Michigan fan, just from what I'm looking at around the Big Ten, like I don't think we're going to be as good as Ohio State this year, no matter who's at quarterback. I don't think we're going to be as good as Oregon, no matter who's at quarterback. I don't think we're going to be as good as Penn State, no matter who's at quarterback. So I want to play the future of the team and get him the reps this year. Can Sullivan come in and win us a couple of more games? Maybe. Is it going to get us to the playoffs? Maybe. Is it going to win us a national championship? No. So I want the freshman to come in and get those reps, even if it means we got to take a couple of lumps. That's the way I'd be leaning, right? If I was a Michigan fan or if I was running the program. I'm playing Underwood regardless. I don't care if Mikey Keene's hurt. I don't care if Davis Webb sucks. And he's hurt too. I don't care about Jaden Davis. Like, I'm playing Underwood. So curious to know what the Michigan fans think. I know you guys, just because you don't comment, I know you watch. I know you watch our Buckeye shows. We can see where you guys are watching from. That's a big hub in Detroit that watches the Buckeye shows. Michigan's spring game taking place literally right now. Unfortunately, if you're a fan of the program, you're not going to be able to watch that spring game on TV like you were able to watch the Ohio State one. You'll be able to watch it, just not until next week. And ever since Matt Rule came out with his ridiculous worried about the transfer portal stuff, like the very next day he came and said that, I said, all you got to do is wait till the spring game is over, or I'm sorry, till the spring window is over, which is the 25th, and then have your game. Well, Michigan has kind of chose to do this in a way by delaying this a week. The transfer portal will be closed. So if anybody sees their guys, they can't go after them. But I've always thought this was a nonsense excuse. I don't think these programs want to have these spring games anymore. And I don't think it has to do with tampering. But I think when you bring up tampering, the fans, those Nebraska fans who were great fans, they had the third biggest attendance at that spring game last year, will kind of agree with you and understand when you bring up the tampering. But the truth is, if your job or my job is at the University of Missouri, and it's our job to look for the best talent in the country to lure into the transfer portal and come be part of the Missouri program, I know who's on Michigan's roster. I know who's on Michigan's roster. I know who's maybe in not the best position on Michigan's roster. I know who's on Ohio State's roster. Like, if that's my job, I already know that. I don't need to watch the spring game for that. It's just such a ridiculous excuse. But regardless, Michigan fans will not be able to watch that game today. They'll have to watch it next week. So we'll see what kind of attendance they draw. Attendance for the spring games has been down everywhere. It was cut in half at Ohio State the year after a national championship because of what they attempted to do with the spring showcase. Eventually changed their minds. Happy that they did. They did the right thing. Michigan getting a lot of crap about this. I'm actually happy for their fans that they get to go to the spring game, because even though they don't get to watch on TV, my whole reasoning behind being so irritated about the spring game is I think it is connectivity with your fan base. It's just for your fan base. The team doesn't get anything out of it. They have 3 scrimmages. They're going to have those scrimmages regardless, whether you're in attendance or not. It's for the fans. It's cheap. You can have, bring your kids, little kids. I could never bring my whole family to a game when my kids were little because they want to leave in the second quarter, right? They don't want to be there. Can't spend all that money and do that, even if you can afford it. It's just ridiculous. But to bring them to a spring game, the weather's nice. It's fun. They get their fill and then you can leave. And I think it's important. I think it's special about college football. So I'm happy that they're having it for their fans. And a big shame on the programs that have totally nixed this, like USC, who basically came out and said, doesn't give us anything. We only do it for the fans. That's exactly right. That's what it's for. So anyway, guys, Kyle McCord was on with John Gruden recently. I wanted to play what he had to say about his departure at Ohio State.
What happened to you at Ohio State? I don't understand.
Yeah, the transfer portal, it's, the wild, wild west. I had a few conversations and things happened quickly, and decided to get in the portal before the bowl game. So it happened fast.
They just couldn't commit to you as the quarterback or what?
Yeah. It was just, I thought just going on from year 1 to year 2, I'd make a big improvement and wanted to come back. And, they went in a different direction.
Shit, man.
He talks about the transfer portal like it jumped up and snatched him and pulled him in. Thing's crazy, man. It jumped up and grabbed me. But talking about they didn't want to commit to me, not sure that's how it went down. A lot of people bagging on McCord about that little soundbite. And I get it, man. McCord's easy pickings. He's easy pickings. But, I rooted for him last year. I wish him the best. And I definitely think it's a situation where everybody won there. So no sour grapes on my end, but it is funny to hear him talk about that portal like it just jumped up and whisked him away from Ohio State to Syracuse. I ran across this graphic yesterday, and this is pretty crazy. So this is a PFF graphic. Now, this is the most snaps played by rookies since 2022, where they came from. And at the top of the list, you've got Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State. Those are the 3 programs that recruit the best since 2022, recruit the best in the last 8 years. Those 3 guys at the top. And you see that their guys are coming ready to play into the NFL. Then 4th, you've got Penn State. And 5th, you've got Cincinnati. Now, a couple of things. So Penn State, for all the crap that James Franklin gets, that's incredibly impressive because they don't recruit like Ohio State and Alabama and Georgia. They actually live at 15, not even the top 10. Penn State lives at 15. And to be able to be with them in that statistic is pretty amazing. If I was a Penn State fan, James Franklin would frustrate the heck out of me. He never wins games that he shouldn't, but he always wins games that he should. But that speaks a lot to the development that they have going on at Penn State. And I think it's pretty impressive. But the most impressive thing is that there are 2 Ohio colleges. Cincinnati making 5th on that list is where does that come from? That's amazing. It certainly just means more in the great state of Ohio when we talk about football. So that's all I got, guys. Let's get to some of your comments before we cut out for the day. My man Ryan says, happy Saturday, Juck. I think we have enough options to make it work at 3 tech. What we truly need is a beefy 1 tech to back up K-Mag. If we can get that, we'll be okay. So I think that Demarion Thomas, I'm with you. That would be number 1. And that's why the hero blow hurts so much. What also hurts about the hero blow is that Hero got poached by the team we're playing game 1, who is also the team who, along with us, is the 1 or 2 team to win the national championship per the odds right now. And a team that, has been to the Final Four the last 2 years. And they took our number 3 guy, and he's their backup now. And that just irks the hell out of me. But yeah, Hero was that guy. You need another one of those guys. There is one available in Demarion Thomas. It's my hope that we can find another guy like that in the portal. But 330, that's tough to get. And I'd sure like to see that happen. As far as being okay, yeah, be okay. Okay, not really the standard, right? I don't know if you mean okay by like national championship caliber. Like that's how I judge rooms. Is it a national championship caliber room? There's a whole lot of unknowns, and we're not going to know until we see out of that defensive line room. But I think it's pretty safe to say, in my opinion, that the depth in the defensive line room is not national championship caliber. But we'll see. My hope is we see a couple of guys come in. Brandingo feels like Larry's too busy playing croquet and going to the Golden Corral. Look, you can insult Larry in a lot of ways. Don't you dare say that he likes the Golden Corral, okay? That's just too far, Brandingo. That is way too far. My kids made me go there a couple of years ago. My gosh, was that awful. Brandingo says, I think he's a living legend, but he needs to prioritize communication with more recruits. Listen, it's true. It's true that the communication has scaled back. It's like, it's not a knock to say that. It's just what it is. You know, you get older and things like that happen. Juck pretending to be a Michigan fan. Just wash your hands after, please. Absolutely not. No, I hate nothing more. Emily says, I don't understand the Larry stuff. We have an edge coming for a visit. There's smoke for the Oklahoma defensive line. There's Day and other defensive coaches. I'm confident they're not sitting on their hands. LOL. Okay. You're confident. I'm happy that you're confident. So, but I'm also happy that you admit that yeah, someone needs brought in, because a couple of days ago you were saying everything was fine. Like you were saying that a couple of days ago. Brandingo, I love Day and the culture he's built. The longer this era persists, the more it's proved he's making the right choices. I get like Hartline would handle things similarly. Just needs to prove his OC skills. The culture, it's just unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable that we've not seen anybody jump into this transfer portal at this point. I know it's been talked about a lot on Twitter, but you just can't overstate how ridiculous that is. It's ridiculous. And you talk about the brotherhood, like it's got to be that. There's no other way you can explain it. It's 100% something that means so much. You know, you can have peer pressure in positive or negative ways. And what happens at Ohio State is, you know, if you're considering leaving or something, like, okay, let's look at it. It feels like everybody rallies around, like, no, we need you. You know, and it's like just positive peer pressure. And you need so much buy-in to get that. It's insane. Steely Matt's with me, how surprised he was with Cincinnati on that ready to play NFL production list. Elijah says CJ Hicks has got dad strength now, Juck. Might be time to change how you feel about him. Elijah, listen, I intentionally did not go over what I was going to go over after the spring game, because I don't want to be this guy. Like, I don't want this attached to me. Like, I hate on this one particular player, because that's not what it is. So I intentionally am avoiding this conversation. All right. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'll just, you know, everybody will rightfully roast me if I'm wrong, but I'm not going to say anything negative anymore. We'll see when we see, and that's that. Mika, happy birthday to our girl. Congratulations. Don't look a day over 26. Unfortunately, you like Golden Corral. Golden Corral on me next time, Mika, for your birthday. Brandingo one time went to Golden Corral against his wishes, saw kids sticking their fingers in the chocolate fountain. Never again. There we go. Fahim is definitely not in agreement with me about the Golden Corral slander. Hollywood Hager is with him. Oh God. It's not just Golden Corral. I don't do buffets of any kind. It's just not for me, man. Not for me. Arnold, love these quick turnaround updates. Stone and Seaton, great job. Keep it up. Very appreciated. Thank you, Arnold. I try to pop on and, just keep it moving as much as we can. So we're all in the know. So when I don't know, man, I enjoy it. I enjoy coming on and talking to you guys. And especially on the weekend when I'm bebopping around the house, it's always a whole lot of fun. Huge audience today. Appreciate you guys. Please like the video if you don't mind. And if you're not subscribed, that would be awesome if you did. Also, we've got a lot of Corey looked at Stone's Oklahoma stats. Not good. Corey, he was a true freshman playing in the SEC. He's a very talented dude. Trust me. Trust me. All right, friends, I got to get to some chores, some honeydews before I get in trouble. I appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for joining me at the Juck on Bucks weekend show, and I will talk to you soon. Juck on Bucks out.